Okay, we
Perfect.
are good. We are live in the Facebook group. Hi, Jessica. Nice to meet you. And hello, everyone inside of our Facebook group. It's Wednesday night, and we have a special guest, Jordan, with us tonight. Jordan is a coach. He owns his own company. It's Steel Body Fitness. And Jordan is going to talk tonight about how you can achieve better results with spending less time in the gym. And I think that's just super fascinating. And if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. We are monitoring that and we're more than happy to answer those for you. But anyhow, without me taking up a whole lot of time, I just want to say welcome, Jordan, and thank you for joining us. Sorry about that.
Awesome. So to start off, first off, to get the idea of what a minimum effective dose training or how to get better results in less time, I like to start off with some quotes or just like things that people say all the time, but for some reason we don't apply to fitness or we don't apply to nutrition. We apply to everything else, things that we're familiar with, especially our work maybe, but we don't apply it to losing body fat or building muscle. And it's the idea of like work smarter, not harder. Or like maybe if you heard of that one, or maybe you heard of trying hard does not guarantee you victory, or more work does not equate to more results, right? So this is the whole idea behind trying to do the minimum amount you can possibly do to make the biggest change. And this is just like a universal truth. If you're whether it be at work, whether it be cleaning your home, there's a way to do it that will save you time and get you the best results, or save you energy and get you the best results. And it might look a little bit different for everyone, depending on what you think takes more energy, what you think takes more time for you, because you have a different skill set and you have a different mindset than a lot of other people do too. So before I go any further, I just wanted to say that, like, again, my name is Jordan. I'm a certified personal trainer, been a trainer for over 8 years, and I'm a certified nutrition coach as well. And essentially I help busy parents or working adults who feel like they're thin on time be able to lose body fat, build muscle, and keep those results to integrate it into their life with less time. So first thing that I like to do is kind of redefine what we're looking for, what results are. A lot of times people are looking for weight loss and not really looking at fat loss. And when we look at fat loss, it looks very different than weight loss. And so this idea of I want to see the scale move as fast as possible can actually be hurting your results in the long term. And so changing that to, I just want to lose as much body fat as possible, AKA build more muscle, focus on getting leaner and getting better results, will save you time. And it will also influence the way you go about what you do and the way you look at what you do. So a lot of times when we decide, hey, we're going to lose body fat, we're going to lose weight, first thing we'll do is kind of just throw the kitchen sink at what we're trying to, like, well, we're going to go to the gym every single day. We're going to do HIIT because we heard HIIT was great. Someone tried keto, so therefore we're going to try keto, or we're going to figure out our intermittent fasting windows. I get bombarded with questions all the time from random people on Facebook and friends and family on should they be started, like what intermittent fasting window should they be doing, how long should they be working out, is an hour not long enough, is an hour too long? And all those things really aren't that important if you're not basically making the main thing the main thing. And to give you an example of why maybe doing HIIT training or your fasting window is not that important is because looking at just hydration, if you're walking around dehydrated most of the day, your metabolism is going to be 30% slower than if you were fully hydrated. And there's research to back that up. And essentially, if you do the math on that, if you eat 2,000 calories in a day, that's a 600 calorie impact from just drinking water. That if you're dehydrated, essentially you would have to do over 2 hours of cardio to make up for that, when you could have just drank water, and that takes you almost no time, right? And so if you're not drinking enough water, but you're doing 2 hours of cardio every single day, why are you wasting so much time doing cardio when you could be drinking more water, right? And so this is where this kind of comes from. And we're like, hey, what can we do that's going to save you time and get you better results, get you to look leaner, more aesthetic, have more muscle, less body fat, not necessarily the scale going down as fast as possible. Because again, if you dehydrate yourself, the scale will go down. You can lose like 8 pounds of water weight in a day, no problem. Hang out in the sauna, don't drink water. However, is that really going to get you closer to your goals? No, it's probably not. It's, you're going to slow down your metabolism for that short period of time until you drink that water back. You're destined to drink that water back eventually, gain that weight back. So again, it doesn't really matter what switch the focus. To put that into different perspective, so if your BMR is 1400, that's 420 calories, 30%. Again, water intake, super important. It's a huge impact. And if you're trying to, essentially get better results, we want to focus on what's the easiest thing for you to do. So first things have to stay first, and other things besides water, which are super important, are making sure that you're just plain eating enough, making sure you're getting enough protein, making sure that you're not sedentary, that you're moving throughout the day, and that you're managing stress. And when I say managing stress, we can look at sleep as part of that too. And whether or not, again, if you're doing 2-hour workouts or an hour a day every day, or you're trying to do like the 75 heart challenge and like no days off, that can cause a lot of stress, and that can actually be setting you back and hurting your progress. When taking some more time off, spend more time with family, do other things, have a life outside of that, could actually get you better results faster. Just really depends on the context. And again, like stress management. So too often, right, the temptation's out there to think that, we're not doing enough, when in reality, we just probably need to be more patient. And again, starting with the foundation of just good health. If you're not, getting enough sleep, the question should be, if you want to lose body fat and build muscle, how can I get a solid 6 hours, if not more sleep than that, right? Ideally, 8 hours would be the gold standard. But if you can at least get 6, hey, at least we're checking that box. Now we're moving in the right direction. How can you make sure you're drinking enough water? If you're not getting like 80 ounces of water in a day, how can you get that? 120 ounces, maybe it might be even better, depending on, again, how active you are, how big of a person you are, how much you work out, how hot it is. Right now it's really hot and it's 90 degrees, it's middle summer. More water, probably the better, right? How can you increase your steps throughout the day without having to do basically cardio, without having to run and change your shoes and change your clothes? How can you get more steps? For me, I put my water bottle usually on the other side of my office. So anytime I have to fill up my cup, I walk across the office, fill up my cup, and walk back. Just that alone gets me more steps. When I use the restroom, I can go down the stairs and use the restroom on a second floor instead of I'm on here on the third floor. Now I'm using more steps, right? I can make just a concerted effort to, before I eat lunch, to take a walk every single day. Now I'm getting even more steps. It doesn't take that much time and I enjoy it. So again, things that you enjoy that help you move more. Dancing with my niece when she comes over and we're watching my niece, like, again, she's 2 years old, like playing with her gets me way more steps. All of that is going to make a huge impact. Protein in every meal. How can you get 1 to 3 servings of protein in every meal? How can you make sure, again, that you're eating enough food in general? And then how can you manage stress? And that whole list of things I just said, of how can you get more sleep? How can you get more protein? All of that will help you manage stress better. So if you're not doing any of those things above and you feel stressed, no wonder. Start doing those things. I bet you'll feel a little bit better, and I bet you'll get better results too. From there, now we have the luxury to say, what can I do now to get even better results, right? If you have that foundation set up. But if you don't have the foundation set up, you're kind of almost shooting blindly in the dark, or you're kind of you're wasting time with something like intermittent fasting, or doing high intensity interval training, when you're not even sleeping enough, or you're not even eating enough, right, to even get the results that you want to get in the first place. So once we've kind of built the base, we have now the luxury to say, I actually want to lose body fat, so I need to do something else on top of this. What's the easiest thing for me to do right now to help me lose body fat? One of my favorite things is like 15 to 30 minutes of strength training. And why I like to start with strength training is because strength training is one of those things where it'll help you actually build more muscle, so therefore metabolism will get faster over time. But it also helps you manage stress better. Your body will manage stress better, and it helps your insulin sensitivity, so your body will actually use carbohydrates better, and it just puts you in a great place to build more muscle, lose more body fat, and get leaner as a result. It might not be the sexiest thing to lose weight necessarily, but again, like I said before, losing weight doesn't necessarily need to be the goal. We want to look more aesthetic, get more muscle, and lose body fat, right? So strength training is a great place to start. After that, bumping up steps, and we have different levers to pull on top of that. So you can always, if you feel like you're hitting a plateau or you want to get a little bit more boost from your workouts without adding more time, change the workout stimulus. If you normally, always do like 15 reps and 3 sets of the same exercises, try lifting a lot heavier, or try shortening or lengthening your rest periods as a result. So if you're going to lift heavier, probably lengthen your rest periods naturally because you're going to get really winded. If you are lifting lighter weights and higher reps, try getting your rest periods really, really short and see what happens there. And then that's where we can actually start to get like something like interval training in there. And it would make sense now because you have a good base. And it's another way to just kind of get more out of that time. Eating less is always a lever that you can pull. But you'd be surprised that if just getting more steps, drinking more water, getting more sleep puts you in a calorie deficit based off of what you were doing before. But if not, cool, you're just at a solid maintenance and you feel good now. It's gonna be way easier for you to stick to a small calorie deficit, like, decreasing 300 calories. If you eat peanut butter, just stop eating peanut butter and then boom, now you're in a calorie deficit. Or you could, want to be more aggressive, anywhere between 300 to 700 calories with a little bit of a deficit, eating just a little bit less, and you're able to stay there consistently with your solid base now. And that, eating less doesn't really take more time. It takes more maybe mental energy though, and discipline. And it's really hard to have that mental energy and discipline if you don't sleep, if you don't have enough protein in your diet, you don't drink enough water, things like that. And even if you're sedentary and don't move enough, right, cravings might go up. So stop fighting against yourself, get that solid base, and then you can use these levers and it makes sense and you don't have to be super extreme with it. Increasing steps, I like to increase 2,000 steps at a time. So if you're someone who's getting like 4,000 steps right now and you want to see what getting 6,000 steps will do for you, cool. Try and shoot for 6,000 steps, do that and see what happens. And when I say see what happens, I'm all these different levers that you can pull. So whether it be, changing your workout stimulus, I would let that ride for 2 to 4 weeks before you decide that you need to do something else or it's not working. Same thing with eating less. If you go into a 300 calorie deficit, try to ride that for 4 weeks and see what happens. If it's working, cool, keep going with it. If not, then we can look at other levers to pull. Increasing your steps, 2,000 calorie or 2,000 steps a day. Pull that lever, wait and see 2 to 4 weeks. Again, what does that do for you? And then you can reserve always in the back of a final lever to pull is adding in more workout time or adding in cardio, running, swimming, biking, etc. And so when we layer it this way, it gives you the ability to always make progress. And it, again, depending on who you are, you might find certain things are almost effortlessly, like you can pull this lever, like eating a little bit less and it doesn't take any time. You actually have to meal prep less now and just easy, especially since you have the ability, just because you're starting from a good healthy spot, to stick to it and not feel super deprived or have these crazy cravings or anything like that. Same thing with strength training. If you don't have to go into the gym for strength training. If you're just doing 15 minutes 3 days a week or 5 days a week, it's something that you can easily do. At that point, all you have to do is decide to install a pull-up bar, have a good mat laid out for push-ups, and now you have the ability to work out at home or a kettlebell or dumbbell. And then I think Jessica's on this call right now. She has almost a full gym at her house and she's able to work out at home. It's great. And so things that you can be really convenient just to work out at home even. Another way to work out at home that I like to do, besides just 15-minute dedicated workouts, is to, if you have that pull-up bar installed or you have that space to do squats in your office or at work, right? You can go ahead and do 10 push-ups every couple hours. Anytime you get up for a bathroom break, anytime you get up to drink water, make it a rule, 10 push-ups. Or I make it a rule because I have a pull-up bar here outside my office in the laundry room. And every time I go to the restroom, I see that pull-up bar, I do a set of pull-ups. And I'll get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sets of pull-ups throughout my entire day. And if I do that a few days per week, I'm getting, again, all the benefits of building muscle in my arms, my back, and it's going to help just be more active throughout the day, gets my heart rate up a little bit. And it's one of those almost effortless things you can do to get strength training done. And if you're getting, for me, it's like 7 sets of 10 in a day, that's 70 pull-ups. That's a lot of pull-ups. That's a gnarly workout for your back. You don't need to do much else. You can do that same thing with squats at home. So if you're doing a set of squats, when you get to the office, a set of squats maybe before a meeting or after a meeting, a set of squats before lunch, a set of squats after lunch, or anything like that, make a rule and you get 4 sets of 25 squats. You just hit 100 squats in a day at work without really taking any extra time. So it's one of those things where you don't have to change your clothes, and ideally I always would think if you're doing this strategy of working in exercise throughout the day, pick something that you can do where you're at and that not going to make you sweaty. So when I do pull-ups, I think like I'm going to do just enough to where I don't start feeling a burn yet, like just enough where I can do perfect reps and then I'm done. Same thing with push-ups, like perfect reps only, and then I'm done. And if you do that, you won't get sweaty, you won't get super winded, but those reps still count, even though you're not getting sweaty, even though you're not getting winded, and you will see great results with that. I actually did that almost for an entire year throughout COVID, working out just in my apartment at the time before I had a house. And I just did pull-ups and pistol squats and push-ups, and I did them throughout the days. And I literally had a pull-up day, a squat day, and a push-up day, and I had an ab day. I just kept repeating that. And I only did like 4 or 5 moves, and it was great. It worked really, really well. And then when the gyms reopened, I went back in and I was able to get my workouts in like normal. So it gives you tools for when life gets really busy. If you're unable to go to the gym for a short period of time because you're traveling or you have to do, longer, like maybe just work as you're going through a hectic season at work, we can use that in our back pocket to still make progress or maintain progress. And then when life goes back to normal, maybe you're able to get, bigger progress when you're able to go back to the gym. But it doesn't take a lot of time. And this is just like touching the really tip of the iceberg of how you can get better results with less available time. But one thing too that I always need to kind of dive into is making sure that going back to the whole where I started with making the first thing, putting first things first, putting priorities first. Health has to be a priority, right? None of these strategies will work if you don't prioritize your health and your own mindset. So one of those things where like I love Google Calendar to help me save time. I literally schedule my workouts in Google Calendar because I will not do them otherwise, right? And I am a personal trainer and nutrition coach, and I still will get sucked into work. My life will get busy, especially with my son about to be born in 4 weeks. Life will get even busier. I need to schedule my time to work out. Alarms are super useful throughout the day as well. So I have alarms on my computer, I have alarms on my phone. Google Calendar makes noises. It helps me stay on task and through the day. That way I don't get sucked into any specific thing for way too long and essentially get off task and miss potentially my workout because I had to finish something for work, right? Also being able to transition from one thing to the next in a good way so that you're not wasting time will allow you to have more available time to work out, right? And we only need really 15 minutes. So if you spend 15 minutes a day scrolling on Instagram and we were to get that time back and put it into a workout, especially a workout where you don't have to change your clothes, it can make a huge difference. And so a technique that I adopted that I love, that I learned from Brendan Bouchard, is to close your eyes after finishing work, or maybe before going into a call or a meeting, or before starting a project for work where I have to write, or anything where I'm just switching my hat in the day. So if you're hanging out with your kids and you have to go back to a meeting or whatever it might be, or you have to go into a workout and then you end your workout and go into work, you can take 1 to 2 minutes to close your eyes and to breathe. And you just inhale, breathe in through your nose and say, set intention. And then as you breathe out, exhale throughout your mouth, you say release tension. And just do that for 2 minutes. Set intention, release tension, set intention, release tension, set intention, release tension. You do that for 2 minutes, close your eyes and breathe, focus on nothing but your breathing and saying that. And then see how focused you are. And if you think I don't have time to do 1 to 2 minute meditation real quick before going into my next thing, then you need to do this meditation. It'll save you a lot of time. It's funny how it works. We can make excuses that like, oh, I don't have enough time, but in reality, a lot of times we're wasting time because we have a hard time focusing and staying on task. Journaling is another thing that a lot of times we can say we don't have time in the morning to have a morning routine, but then if we had a morning routine, we would find that it saves us time. Same thing with evening routines. And if I were to look at my day, having just a structured day, pillars throughout my day allows me to have more time, right? So I can go through, I laid out my day in front of me here, and I start my day, I brush my teeth, right? Happens every single day. It's a pillar. I drink water, I drink a protein shake, I go to the gym if it's a gym day, or go for a walk if it's not a gym day. I, after that, will eat breakfast. I'll have quiet time or journaling, and then I'll start work, right? And that happens literally every single day. And then at a certain time, my calendar keeps me on task. It lets me know when lunch is supposed to be and when I'm supposed to go for my afternoon walk. I go for a walk, I eat lunch, I go back to work. Then same thing, my calendar keeps me on task. I have dinner, I have quality time with my wife, I shower, I sleep, I do it again. And so there's a lot of time in there where, you know, I'm getting stuff done for other things, but no matter what, I'm taking care of myself, and it's a priority. And I've found that when I do that, I'm way more productive at work. I get way more done, and I'm able to have the time to take a couple walks in a day. I'm able to journal, and I'm able to eat enough protein, eat enough calories, and I'm able to get enough sleep, and I get my workouts in when I'm supposed to get my workouts in. So again, make your workouts a priority. They don't have to be long. If you're someone who gets overwhelmed and you're like, I don't know, 15 minutes at home, don't make it hard. If even that seems like too much, take one move and do it throughout the entire day, and it's awesome. And just give that a go, and don't underestimate or just don't undersell it to yourself or underestimate the power of doing less. A lot of times we think, oh, I have to do everything, all this stuff, or it won't work. The reality is that I think if you were to just really double down on the basics, and then making sure you get some like 15 minutes or walks in, 15-minute workouts or walks, or just one move throughout the day, you'd be blown away by, if you're just consistent, what can happen. But yeah, that's everything I had. I don't know if people are asking questions or not, but
Yeah, no, we have some questions that came in on Facebook. I know there's something in the chat here too. There's tons of information. They're loving it.
cool.
But we have Lelia. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. She asked, when I do water fasting, it's mostly water loss, but my goal is fat loss.
Is there a question in there?
I don't know. She wrote it as a question, but I'm not sure that I'm understanding.
I guess she's asking, is water fasting good for fat loss?
I think possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
And
nothing.
I think that goes back to my first point of
Yeah.
we need to stop conflating, weight loss with fat loss. It's not usually the same thing.
No.
It can be if you're doing everything right, and then you see weight loss, then you know it's fat loss because you're maintaining muscle and you're, again, like controlling for other things that you could lose besides fat, which is mainly muscle mass and water intake.
Right.
But if you're not doing that and you're seeing massive changes in scale, it's, you're not if you're just not getting enough water or retaining enough water, because you're not eating enough carbs, carbohydrates. There's a lot of things that, even though if you're doing a water fast, you're drinking plenty of water, probably still are lower on water in your body.
Right.
Your body's not going to retain it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, and I think you kind of maybe answered that question a little bit ago too.
Yeah.
Someone else really liked the idea, was actually of, if they had to choose between water or cardio, she says she would choose water. Definitely.
Nice.
And then Leila also said she will get her sleep on time tonight so I can start a new day tomorrow with all the tips. Thank you. Namaste.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then I don't know, did the chat in here had a couple of things.
Yeah, let me see.
And then I don't know. Go ahead.
Pam just said having equipment at home is a great thing.
Oh yes, I agree. I bought a lot of equipment. Was that all from the chat?
Yeah, that was it from the chat.
Okay. So my client that did message in some questions prior to the session tonight, she wants to know, How much and how often would you recommend activity or exercise to maintain good muscle function for later years, for like being older?
Oh, like for longevity. Yeah. So I mean, my favorite thing for longevity is walking, and almost more walking the better. And so I would want to layer it in a way that just feels effortless, because walking shouldn't feel like torture.
Mhm.
It's something that our body is meant to do and made to do. And it actually is like, I think I equate it to a form of meditation, because especially if we're walking outside and getting the fresh air, it does decrease stress, and it's also a form of cardio, which is great. So it's something that I would say daily. We should be walking daily. And it doesn't have to be super long. It doesn't have to be all at one time. Like you don't have to walk for 2 hours straight. But I would say, hey, like whether it be part of your morning routine, or as like for me, I do it before lunch usually, and then I'll do it at the end of my workday. So I walk 3 times in a day. That's just for longevity. That's just for overall health and mental health and everything like that. And then I really like strength training as for older adults specifically, because especially when you're looking at things like squatting and deadlifting for just lower body stability, for balance, for falling. So if you can't go downstairs because you never practice lunging or step ups or anything like that in the gym, and you're going to lose that. If you don't use it, you lose it. Then that's gonna be not a fun recipe for longevity, for aging. So it's just kind of picking out what's the most important thing for your goals, being clear on what you want. And workouts don't have to be long. Maybe if you focused on more longevity, and then majority of time could be spent walking.
All right. No, that's super good. She has rather a lot of questions here, so I'll go through another.
I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. She wants to know what some examples of weight training that don't need equipment.
Oh, so like strength training in general.
Yeah, she's
So
older, so building muscles
yeah,
and
I love calisthenics. Like I said, through COVID, the only thing I invested into was a pull-up bar at home and a kettlebell. And I did a lot of calisthenics work. And then even when gyms were open before COVID, I spent a lot of time doing calisthenics. And it's one of those things where you can progress, like progressive calisthenics. So squatting, if you can't squat to full depth right now, squatting to a chair, or doing an assisted squat with a chair, right? And then if you can squat to full depth, now bringing your feet closer together and getting more into narrow squats, which can then eventually transition you to assisted pistol squats. And then from there, you can get rid of the assistants. And then from there, we can get to dragon squats, and it gets really complex. Like you just keep progressing and progressing. But it starts at like, hey, you can't even squat yet? Cool. Here's a way for you to be able to build your legs up without having any equipment. And that can go for every single movement. For the pull up, right? All you need is I have an awesome bar that I put in my door frame that comes down, and now you can do inverted rows on it. And it's one of those things where if you can do an inverted row, and you can make the inverted row harder to, or you get rings or a TRX system, great. And then you can eventually transition to a pull up. And there's steps as well. And there's steps for every single calisthenics move you can think of. It's a great discipline, and it's a great skill to learn. There's awesome books that I recommend too, like one of them, Convict Conditioning, which is amazing. And you learn how to strength train without any equipment. It's really cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan.
Welcome.
I think you kind of addressed this next question in general, but specifically, she wants to know how to keep from feeling muscle burn while going up multiple flights of stairs, not when she's working out.
Gotcha. Yeah. So just being strong, right? And that's where it goes back to longevity. If you have strong legs because you squat and you deadlift, going upstairs will feel easy. Same thing with conditioning too. If you get winded, maybe we need to do more walking, more cardio, and then all of a sudden now cardiovascular endurance is better. And when you go ahead and do something with, like for me, playing with my niece, running around with my niece, I don't get winded because have a good enough base of fitness to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Jessica, yes, I did say Convict Conditioning. It was written by someone who got out of prison. So he was a convict, and it made sense. This is how he trained himself and other people to stay alive. in prison. So it was one thing that he could do to add value to people's lives in prison, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. It's a good book. How to retain muscle but drop excessive weight, specifically in the hips and abdomen, but nothing, she doesn't want anything to come off the glutes.
So how do we maintain muscle mass while losing body fat, essentially, is the question. And so if you have good glutes, you've been squatting, you've been deadlifting, you don't want to lose that work when cutting. Keeping protein high. And again, going back to the maintenance, the base that I mentioned earlier, and putting first things first. If those things aren't first, if you're not drinking enough water, you're not eating enough protein, you're not eating enough calories on a normal basis, you're not sleeping enough, eventually you're probably going to lose your muscles regardless. But if you put yourself in an extreme deficit on top of that, it will happen faster. So the idea is, if you're going to go into a deficit, you need to still do your base stuff to maintain your muscle mass. Otherwise, you're probably going to lose muscle mass along with the body fat.
Right. No, that's so true. And then one more question. Why do I need a whole day of doing nothing? It says that's not something I want to make time for if it's not winter.
Yeah, so rest days, I think a lot of times people can think that a rest day is like a day of doing nothing. It's not true. I know for like Pam, she's driving around right now. That's not nothing. If you are busy, then it makes sense to want to work out less so we can enjoy our lives. And a rest day, to be really effective, you should still be getting steps, right? You should still be eating protein. You should still be drinking water. You should still be maybe stretching, and doing things that help your body recover. And recovery is where the magic is. You can do lots of work in the gym, but if you don't spend any time recovering because you're always in the gym working out, you'll get worse results. Something that I learned really young when I was in high school, my wrestling coach and wrestling season was intense. And I actually found it took a week of doing nothing. And I literally did nothing for an entire week besides eat and sleep. And I went back to the gym a week later, and my bench press got better by almost 50 pounds, which is ridiculous in 1 week. But the reality was I had spent months overtraining and under eating and under recovering, and my body just needed a whole week to recover. And then when it did, I was way stronger. But I never actually would have gotten stronger if I never gave myself that week of nothing. So do you need to do nothing? No, ideally, unless you're overtraining, in which sense maybe you do need to do nothing for a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I think people sometimes get it mixed up, like what a rest day is supposed to look like. And it can be active. Depends on what you've done to yourself. Like, like you said, if you were overtraining, it's maybe good to rest and not have that active rest. There's something else I wanted to ask you. Oh, regarding her body fat question. So if someone, is trying to keep their muscle but lose body fat, but they're metabolically adapted to a deficit, is implementing a steeper deficit going to work?
Oh, so like if you're already, like, let's say eating 1,400 calories and you're like, I need to go to 800 or I need to go to 1,000 to lose weight. Probably not, right? And that's where you would want to probably spend more time.
No. Is he frozen, or is it my service?
He's frozen. I can not hear him.
Oh no. I don't know how to unfreeze him.
I think it's on his end. So maybe his internet has done something weird. But I'm sure he was gonna say that you can't go that low, but you have to increase something else.
Yes, yeah. That's very true. And it's so hard to he had to leave and come back. It's so hard to be, when you cut that to that low of calories, it's so hard to actually be consistent with eating that small of amount because it's very, very small.
Right, exactly. So maybe you eat more protein if you're going to stay that low versus carbs, whatever you were eating.
Right.
You may have to adjust your nutrition macros instead of cutting the calorie itself, just rearrange it.
Right, right. And I think with that low of intake too, then it comes into play like the whole, like a separate issue of just compliance.
Yeah, exactly.
You're back.
Well, glad you got back, Jordan. Can you hear us? Are you frozen again, Jordan?
He's frozen again.
Yeah.
Maybe try turning your camera off. That's what I have to do when I get frozen.
Well, while we wait, it's coming from the vegetarian side, you know, when you cut the calories, I have the worst time trying to meet the macros that get set. So Jordan always tells me to cut the carbs, or, you know, you make sure you take the calories out of the carbs if you're in a cut. That for meeting the protein is the most important part of that. So keep your protein high, cut it out of the carbs. And then the fat is of course important because it keeps your body function.
Right.
So especially, you know, for the vegan side too, it's hard because we don't have a lot of protein sources.
Right.
But
No,
to
that's so
fuel
true.
your body, you know, you have to have that protein.
Yeah, so that's super important that as vegetarians and vegans, and I mean, even for general population, is that we have gone through a period where we have worked really hard to restore metabolic health so that you can
Yeah,
cut
and
on.
he says that no matter if you're vegetarian or not.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Can you hear us, Jordan?
I can hear you guys. I just feel like it's lagging a little bit, which is weird.
Yeah, it looks like it is, but that's okay.
Sounds like Jessica and Pam, though, answered the question for me.
They did. Yes, we were having a nice chat. Someone asked if you believe yoga is good for longevity, so to keep your flexibility as we age.
If you enjoy it, yes. It's one of those things where activity is great no matter what, as long as you enjoy it. So I like walking. Walking has a lot of health benefits, but so does yoga. And some of the things where, you know, if you rather do yoga 3 times a day and, you know, instead of walk, like, cool, do that. If you rather, you know, I really enjoy strength training, so I like to do that at least 3 days a week. But you know, you might find that you like to, again, like I like to dance with and play with my niece, like that's fun. I count that as activity.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Being active in general, it's great to do 1 or 2 things, or one thing really for quote unquote results. And everything else you do is just an active lifestyle should be done for fun. Should be like, you know, we should ideally have more things that we do for fun that are movement based.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And then if it's fun and if it's something you enjoy, it's never a chore. All right. Leila also asked, how do I know how to work with my daughter who has Down syndrome? She's 14.
So that's probably out of my scope of practice. Something that I have a great friend who's a social worker who is also a bodybuilder, that would be her expertise. But essentially it's, you know, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. If they enjoy playing a sport or a game that's active, then I would just have them do that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think when there's those kind of health conditions, it's best to talk to someone that's their field, that's their scope. All right, but I think we got all the questions answered. Jordan, thank you for coming back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I don't know.
My internet.
Yeah, mine's been up and down like all week. I'm happy that that the error wasn't on my end today. But anyhow, does anyone here on Zoom with us have any questions before we get things wrapped up?
No, I think what Jordan said during COVID about doing things as you get up to go somewhere, tell you what, that really worked, because every time I went to the bathroom, I did push-ups or squats constantly, and I was drinking a lot of water. So I was actually going and doing exercise all the time. I do miss that, being back in the office, but I'm going to incorporate it back.
Good.
Awesome.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we can go ahead and wrap things up unless anybody has any further questions. We don't on Facebook. We're all good there.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight, Jordan. I really enjoyed it. It looks like everyone in the group has really enjoyed it as well. So thank you for spending part of your Wednesday night with us.
Oh, thank you, Clarissa, for having me. It's fun. I like to do this kind of stuff, and we'll definitely probably collaborate more in the future.
All right. Awesome. Sounds good. We all have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll see everyone soon. Bye.